Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm coming at you with another video where I'm designing this t-shirt, which I will be selling at some point in time as soon as I reach 1,000 subscribers. Now, this portion of the video, the first 6 minutes and 30 seconds-ish, is in real time. Now, the only reason why I decided to do that is primarily because I had a subscriber ask me, I say something along the lines of, man, I really wish I could just see how fast you actually go without a time lapse. Well, this is how fast I go. My videos tend to be about 10 times speed, so this is the real live speed that I go. Now, as you can see, it may look weird while I'm drawing. Now, you'll see my cursor is in a different location than where the line is actually being drawn. Now, you may come to the conclusion, wow, he's got one really laggy computer. That is not how it is at all. Not even a little bit. Okay, now, yes, the cursor is ahead of where the line is being drawn, but that's because I'm using the dynamic brush tool. Now, inside of a previous video, I accidentally called it the Bezier brush tool. That I confused two different tools with another one. Okay, the dynamic brush tool has a huge amount of stability, and I really like it because, like, when I draw on pencil and paper, it you know, when I do the sketching and everything, I basically just kind of scribble out something that looks pretty good. But then when I go about wanting to clean it up, either my pen or my pencil is moving really slowly, and this dynamic brush tool allows me to do that. I'm able to get nice, crisp, perfect lines with the dynamic brush tool. Now, it's not for everybody. Now, inside of Krita 3.3.3, this specific tool would be a little bit laggy. It would take some time for me to press Ctrl-Z, but even still, if I was working with Photoshop, I feel as though I would still be moving faster with the dynamic brush tool in Krita. And here's the reason why, okay? So, I don't know what the guy's called on YouTube, but every time his videos start inside of YouTube and everything, he says, "Welcome to the Ken Kill Show." He's got excellent videos, okay? I just don't have the time to watch all of his videos. Great tutorials on how to paint and such like that. And really enthusiastic guy. Now, he mentions two ways of doing cleanup on Photoshop. Now, on Krita, we don't have to worry too much about that because we actually have stability options inputted that we can actually customize for our normal brush and for, well, the dynamic brush is just a massive amount of stability options. But the styluses, graphics tablets in general, they don't quite have the same sort of fidelity that you have with just a pencil and paper applied onto paper. And so with Photoshop, it has no stability options for some reason. Top of the line $1,000 program out there, and it doesn't have any stability built into the program. I don't understand that, but even still, that's the way it is. Now, he mentions two different ways of doing cleanup work with Photoshop. Now, of course, I don't have a sketch to work on with the footage that you're seeing right here. Normally, I would. But, I figured, I know what I want on the image, so I can just use the dynamic brush tool and do the cleanup right here, right now, without having it to have a sketch. So, for me, this worked at this point in time. Now, cleanup work inside of Photoshop, if you have absolutely nothing to assist you with the stability and everything for your brush, the Can Kill Show suggests that you do what he calls the hatchet method, where basically you use your stylus and you just hack at your picture, and you try to get the line as quick as possible, because then you don't have to worry about any sort of stability or anything. You get a nice crisp line, But what this means is, since you're hacking at your picture with just a really quick brush stroke here and there, you're going to be pressing Control Z over and 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 over again. You can have 50 tries until finally you have a line that's somewhat like it, and at that point you might be like, I guess I'll just keep that one, and then move on to the next line. And the problem with that is you may actually be deviating further and further away from the things in your sketch that made this sketch appealing to begin with. And so I don't like the hatchet method. I think that's stupid. So now, if I were to be using Photoshop, I would still bring the image over to Krita so that I could use the dynamic brush tool, because it's so much faster than the hatchet mode. And also because with Krita, it's free. Krita is free, and I don't have to pay an extra $5 or $6 or $7 for Lazy Nezumi. Now, Lazy Nezumi is a third-party program which adds stability to your brush. Now, Lazy Nezumi works for Photoshop, Corel, Paint, or whatever it's called, and all these other different programs out there. You can even get Lazy Nezumi to work on Krita, actually. But why would you? You already have all of the stability programming built into the program. So, it is an option, but why bother on Krita with Lazy Nezumi? Now, of course, having the nice stability options with Lazy Nezumi is nice and everything, but, as fast as with how slow the hatchet method is, with Photoshop and stuff like that, why don't you just use Krita? Of course, you can move all of your line work into not a PSD. Well, maybe. I think Krita can save as PSD, but you can save it as a PNG, and then you can go ahead and move it over to Photoshop and just have that as one of your extra layers with your cleanup work. So you can still save the file as a PSD at the end of the day if your work requires it, which a lot of different jobs require it. Now, it's actually faster using the dynamic brush tool than using the hatchet method. And so, you might as well use Krita to do the cleanup work. Now, then there's Lazy Nezumi, okay, where it's this third-party program that costs money. Again, you might as well just use Krita, that way you don't have to spend money. Krita is superior in this sense, in this specific category. Now, it's not superior in every way to Photoshop by any stretch of the imagination. Photoshop is amazing in a lot of different ways. But when it comes to brush stabilization and cleaning up your artwork, Krita is far, far, far superior. And I'm not joking about that. Krita has something very, very legitimate to offer the art community when it comes to cleaning up your artwork. And, just what you saw at the very beginning of the video, you may feel as though, wow, he's moving so slow, but I'm telling you, that was quick. That was quick for cleanup work. So, do not discount the power of the dynamic brush tool. Even with it lagging out horribly every once in a while, with the dynamic brush tool on Krita 3.3.3. Now, I don't know how well the dynamic brush tool works on Krita 4. Krita 4 just recently launched. I just barely got it on my computer. More on that later. But anyways, I don't know how well the dynamic brush works on Krita 4. Hopefully they've optimized it a little bit more so that you're going to be able to work with it a little bit faster. Sometimes the processing power that it had with 3.3.3 was that you would wind up drawing a line, realize that it was a mistake, and so you'll press Control Z and it wouldn't undo, and so you wait about 5 more seconds, press Control Z, and then finally it would work. And when you do that about 5 or 6 times, it can get annoying. Not as annoying as the hatchet method, because it is still faster than the hatchet method with Krita. But even still, like hopefully that has been resolved with Krita 4, so that you could move even faster. That would be just stinking awesome if that's the case. One thing about Krita 4 that I don't like. Now, my stylus, I have a button on my stylus that when pressed, it's set to pan zoom. That's what it's set to. And so, basically, with Krita 3.3.3 and even the previous version, I've been able to use that, and it's been able to zoom in and zoom out organically. Just this wonderful experience. Every bit as enjoyable as zooming in and zooming out with Photoshop. But the thing is, with Krita 4, even though it's zooming in and zooming out, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute and total nightmare. Because I have to actually press the button and move my stylus from one end of the graphics tablet to the other just to zoom in just a little bit. I don't know what it is with the programming that they did, but they ruined it. And so what I wound up doing is I set that button to the mouse wheel. So it's like using the scroll wheel on a mouse. And that's fine. In fact, actually, Krita 2.0, when it first launched, it gave me a bug where I couldn't zoom in the way that I normally would. What I had the zooming in and zooming out set to was when I'd press a button on my stylus, it would activate the zoom tool. The problem with that, though, is that even though it feels really nice and it zooms in and zooms out all organically and everything like that with Open Tunes, is that oftentimes I'll actually be using a tool, and then once I'd press that button to zoom in and zoom out, I'd no longer be using that tool, and so I'd be deleting progress. Whereas when I set it to the scroll wheel on Open Tunes, I don't reset my progress. And so it took me a long time to actually appreciate using that button on my stylus as the zoom in and the zoom out on Open Tunes. Now, it did kind of create a little bit of a conflict in my brain where zooming in and zooming out in Krita was different than how I was zooming in and zooming out inside of Open Tunes. That was really kind of annoying initially, but as time has gone on, I've actually appreciated using the scroll wheel being assigned to that button on my stylus. I really have. It's really improved the workflow inside of Open Tunes, actually. And I would recommend others to do it as well. But now in Krita, I have to do it too. And it seems kind of unnecessary. Maybe it might grow on me. Maybe there might be something about Krita that makes it so that it's like, oh yeah, I prefer it this way now. It's so much better. But I can't imagine how. The only way that I'll appreciate it is that now, every time I switch from using Krita to using Open Tunes, I'll be zooming in and zooming out the exact same way. That's the only way that I can think that I might come to appreciate it. But that's the way that, like, if you're experiencing that problem with Krita 4, just assign that button to zoom in and zoom out as if it's a scroll wheel on your mouse. I genuinely and truly, that's the only way to get an organic zoom feel in Krita 4 for me. And so if you're experiencing that problem, you better do that. Anyway, so as you can see, I've colored it. I've put in the base color, and now I'm applying shadows. Now I got a couple of these shadows wrong with the noodly teeth, but most of them are correct, and I like them well enough. Now, what is correct and incorrect in this case? Well, you need to keep in mind where the light source is and everything like that. Now, a lot of it, all of it, is guesswork. Now, I guess if you really wanted to delve into like geometry and stuff, you could figure it out. And this entire video would be me constructing 5 or 6 shadows. No, I'm not going to do that. That sounds like a nightmare and sounds really stupid, actually. Artists, you know, eyeball things all the time, and as long as it replicates a look that you feel as though, oh, I'm looking at something that's real, then go for it. But until some sort of program gives me some sort of tools in order to quickly determine more accurate shadows, then I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to treat it like how I would on pencil and paper. Now, there is a point where a noodle kind of comes towards the camera, wraps around another noodle, and then goes away from the camera. You see it. It's on the screen every once in a while. I made one of the shadows for that specific noodle properly, and then the other shadow not so much, because it just doesn't look right. And just, you know, once I was done recording this video, I kind of sat back and looked at it. I'm like, yeah, I really like that. But wait a second, it's this noodle right here. I'm like, wait a second, that looks wrong. That looks wrong. It's the upper shadow on that noodle that I basically mentioned right there. You see, the lower shadow on it doesn't look as if the noodle is coming towards us, but that top shadow on it shows it as if it feels as if the noodle is going away from us on the top of that specific noodle, not so much on the bottom. And so that can get pretty frustrating. Anyway, so now I after the fact, after having started this project as a t-shirt and such like that, I came to realize something again, even though every time I look at my analytics, it's like, oh yeah, okay, of course I know this. Now, for some reason, I thought that, you know, a bunch of teenagers would love my channel because I wish I had a channel like this, or had something like this, because we didn't have YouTube back then. I wish I had something like this when I was a kid, and it just didn't exist. But most of the people that are interested in my channel are people in their 30s and 40s, and I appreciate it. I love that. That's great. I just don't understand why. Because when I was a kid, I would have loved this. I would have loved having some sort of resource where some guy was talking about a free animation program that I could use, and this dude is improving the program and is totally there to help everybody out. I would have loved that as a kid. But anyways, like, I designed this t-shirt in a way where it's like, man, I'm 33 and I still love this, and I would wear this t-shirt. But ultimately, I don't know what the 30-year-old to 40-year-old demographic wants out of a t-shirt, if any, is the thing. Like, when I was a kid, actually, like, if you look at the movies that were coming out in the early 1990s and 80s and such like that, it was always button-up shirts. And so that's kind of, you know, my perception of the adult and what the adult wears. And times have changed quite substantially. You look at movies now, and it seems like you look at a 30-year-old woman in a movie and stuff, and she's wearing the same thing as her daughter, which is, you know, like a t-shirt and such like that, or like a tank top or something. And you know, same thing with the dad. He's wearing a t-shirt, wearing the same thing as his kid. And so I don't know really what you guys want as 30-year-olds to 40-year-olds. I don't know. Would you guys wear this t-shirt? If you would wear this t-shirt, even if you wouldn't, just leave a comment in the comment section. I would love to hear your feedback, because, like, I'm making this because, not like, yeah, you know, I would want to wear it, but, you know, I'd like to make something that you guys actually want to wear. That sort of thing. If people wind up buying this just purely to support my channel, I love that. That's awesome and everything. But you know, I do like if I'm supplying something, I want it to actually supply something that there's actually a demand for. So just let me know. Seriously, let me know. Because like it's not all about sales for me. With when I post this as screen printing that people can purchase, it's not all about sales, but some of it is, because some of the reason why I'm here on YouTube is because, and I've mentioned this about maybe 3 or 4 times on my channel, I got into a horrible accident in 2008, I believe. Yeah, 2008. And my body is kind of falling apart. Sometimes I can feel it. Earlier this week, I felt it. I'm feeling a lot better now, but my body is kind of falling apart, and I'm doing construction work, and I love my job. I really do. It's artistic. I'm able to even say officially, I am a professional artist. I'm a faux rock artist, and that's, you know, that's so cool that I can actually say that. But the thing is that it is hard on the body, and you know, I want to supply something that you guys actually want, so that, you know, I can eventually get out of that and, you know, work on things that I actually love doing, like animation and drawing and just, you know, maybe even if it's just YouTube and I don't wind up working inside of an animation studio, I'm fine with that. Like I would love that, actually, because I'd be able to just do this full time and just work on what I want to work on and work on what you guys want me to work on. That right there is a dream come true, if I've ever heard one. And like, so seriously, if this is something that you would want to buy, leave a comment in the comment section, because I don't want to make something that won't sell. Now, it's not about sales 100%, okay? It's not all about sales. And the reason why I say that is because if Amazon, for example, offers a screen printing service where it'll print out the t-shirt and such like that and sell it on Amazon, hypothetically speaking, let's say it screen prints a terrible quality, okay? I could have the option of saying, well, who cares what the quality is? I could get a lot of sales by people just being on Amazon and doing random searches for t-shirts. Now, that's not my mindset at all. Now, I know that Draw with Jazza, I know that he uses Teesprings. I don't know if Teesprings sells on Amazon, to be honest. I really don't. I would love it if they did, if they wind up being the company that I go through in order to sell these t-shirts and such like that. But ultimately, if I find that Teespring doesn't do it very well, I won't go through them. If I find that some Amazon service, if it exists, that does screen printing, if it doesn't do a very good service, then I won't do that. Because ultimately, I want an accurate, good, quality replication of my artwork. I don't want my artwork represented looking like crap. And so that right there, offering quality, is the main thing that I'm aiming for. And and hopefully the quality will sell. And even if it winds up selling on an obscure site and the only people that wind up purchasing are people that are subscribed to me and know that these t-shirts exist, I don't know how it'll work out. But if that's the way it is, and that's the only way that I can provide quality for you guys, that's what I'm going to do. Pure and simple. I love what I just did there. Here I am. It feels like I'm even here. I'm like sculpting the shape, the dimensions of this thing with just highlights. And I do that with the shadows too, but it's these extra layers, and I don't necessarily have to do a million different lines with my black lines and stuff such like that. I can do that with the coloring, and it looks. I like how it's coming out. And so here's not quite the finished image. The top skull still needs some shadows and highlights and stuff. There's a little bit at the bottom, a little bit in the middle. I need to correct a little bit of the noodles and stuff such like that. So I still have a little bit of shadows and highlights to do, and fixing a few things that look good initially, but after looking at the image a little bit, I feel like I need to correct a few things. But anyways, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways. There's a lot of work that goes into this channel and everything. And if you'd like to take a look at any more videos, feel free to click on any of the other videos that are appearing on the screen right now.